Day, all day, all night. I couldn't believe that I was leaving, so I called my friend John and I said to him, all day, all night, all day, all night, all day, all night. What the fuck? Every time you come around, you know I can't say no. Every time the sun goes down, I let you take control. I can feel the paradise before my world implodes. And tonight had something wonderful. A bad attitude to late nights and night alone. Conversation conversations with a stranger up late night, swearing this will be the last, but it probably won't. I got nothing left to lose or use, all through my body hurts me too. My body hurts me too. You were the shadow to my light. Did you feel us? Another star, you fade away. Afraid our aim is out of sight. Wanna see us alive? Where are you now? Where are you now? Where are you now? Was it all in fantasy? Where are you now? We won't imagine it. Where are you I'm in the best when it ended. Even tried to bite my tongue on these first shit. Now you're texting all my friends, asking questions, and never even liked you in the first place. I was into you, but I'm over it now. I was trying to be nice, but nothing's getting close, so let me spell it out. A, B, C, D, E, F, U, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, Z. I never see again, everybody but you know you know the song. I feel lost next to you. Darkness, you hide with me. Like the wind, we belong. You say you follow me anywhere. Do your heart and you follow me there. Don't stay like the sun. Out of all of the people, places, and things I've loved, you can feel the light start to tremble. Watching what you know out to see it. You can see the light out the window tonight. If I lose myself, it'll be by your side. I lose myself. If I lose myself tonight, it'll be you and I. Lose myself no me importa lo que de mí se diga, usted es su vida que yo vivo la mía. Solo es una, disfruta el momento, que el tiempo se acaba y para atrás no viene. Bebiendo, fumando y jodiendo, sigo vacilando de party todos los días. Mi cielo, cielo.
Wow. Who's ready for a party? My goodness. Wasn't expecting that now.
I just logged on there thinking it was going to be late. Just came to like all the tunes. It was like, nice one.
Did you put your hands up at least? Did you? Like he asked you to, or?
Oh, definitely, yeah. Like Laura was flicking on the light on and off there for a few minutes as well.
Brilliant. Let's get this ready.
How are we, lads?
How are you?
Oh, good. Oh.
3 seconds while I plug this in. Put your hands up.
You in a different room tonight, maybe?
Yeah, I'm downstairs. Let me. Can you hear me? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's dead on. Your microphone has changed. Happy days. Yeah, downstairs. I don't know why. Do you know, I'll tell you the truth. I'll tell you why. Right? Do you ever not tidy your bedroom? Does that happen to anybody else where you don't tidy your bedroom? And then anytime you go into it, you just go, oh, this is awful. I gotta tidy this. So usually I'm standing at the wee desk that I have in the bedroom, and there's too much stuff on the floor. And I thought, you know what, I'm just going to go downstairs because I couldn't be bothered. That's the truth of it.
We shared a tiny room, Vinty. I know how untidy you can be.
I think everybody does here, actually. I think we've all, like, yeah, because we were away in Romania all together, weren't we? So,
Oh, I've shared a tent with Finty. I had nowhere to rest my head with all his junk.
God. Was that then when we went to? We were one of the only people with tents that time, weren't we?
We went with, what's his name? Big Stephen First, do you remember? Up in the mornings.
Stephen First.
Oh, that time. All right. I
Uh-huh.
thought you were on about when we were in World Youth Day.
Oh, that day too, aye. It's been in tents many a times, mate.
There could be many days.
Many days in tents.
Yeah. We went to World Youth Day. It was in Germany, and you were meant to do, well, we all did the pilgrimage. Like, you were walking for miles and miles with millions of people walking, and you got to like this big, huge field, really, like that held everybody in the field, and the Pope and all was coming, but you weren't allowed to bring tents because they weren't able to manage, safety and stuff with tents. I brought one anyway, and I think out of like 1 million people, we were the one of like maybe 20 odd people that put a tent up. Everybody else was like sleeping out in the wilderness.
Aye, sleeping under the stars, night chance.
Yeah, but although I think it might have been warmer though, Kieran. We didn't have sleeping bags.
No, I don't. I just remember you bringing this pop-up looking thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it wasn't like we're calling it a tent. That's a very loose term.
Yeah.
We could do a podcast. 2 men in a tent. How many times have we been in tents together?
4.
There you go.
Well, 4 episodes. We could talk about
4
the
episode podcast. Yeah.
Like Brokeback Mountain too.
Oh no! You said it. I was hoping I wouldn't go down that direction. Oh dear. So, how are you? How's get on this week?
Good.
Yeah.
We have a load of sickness in the house, so I'm not feeling great. But
Look, really?
yeah, just the Carrie brings everything in the house these days. So she does. So
You've
She's
been off work for a while then, have you?
I've had a day off work since 2009, 10. No, I've been working, but Carrie has been off childminders, and it's been hectic trying to get the work and maintain her in the house. And then I'm starting to feel it the past couple of days as well. So
Aye.
we're all good.
All good. All good. You'll work your way through it.
Yeah, kids bring everything in. See, especially since everything's opened up again, she's picked up everything. So she has.
Yeah. Yeah. It's one of those ones that's like seasonal as well sometimes. I find in my house anyway, like as soon as they go back in September, you're
Yeah.
guaranteed like sore stomachs, a vomiting bug.
Well, I'm sounding like my granda because he's like a very cleanophobe, or don't even know if that's a word, but soft play areas. Carrie's been in a soft play area 3 times in the past 3 months, and she's been sick the week after every time. Just so
Wow.
I have a fear of going to jumping jacks about it. So I do.
Yeah. You can imagine how they are, like just big dirty holes, like, do you know what I mean? Like,
Oh,
How many
Jesus.
kids have licked the balls in the ball pit and
yeah, or worse. Put
Honestly,
in places.
I'm not trying to go to places like you want to go to, Vinty. I'm just trying to keep it very clean. You're on a whole other level tonight.
I
we were
know.
talking about jumping
Swearing
jacks.
in the intro music and everything.
It was Sean. Sean started talking about Brokeback Mountain, and I just thought, you know what? This just gives me
Let's just
permission
flow.
to
Let's
be
just go
me.
with the flow.
This is called being authentic and real, isn't it? Just wait till I start taking my top off. That's like, oh, shit. No.
Recording, Vinty. It's recording.
All right, exactly. We'll remind you again that you're recording this.
I know. Flip me. Oh dear. Okay. So sickness in Sean's house. How far on are you on with the stuff anyway? Like, did you get the beliefs stuff done, or whereabouts are you at?
I did. Had a watch of the YouTube from last week, and then I was looking at was it the wheels of, what was it again? I can't remember.
Wheel of Fear and Wheel of Freedom.
Yeah.
I was having a look at them. So
Okay, no bother. Dead on. Kieran, how's your week been?
Flat out, mate. Absolute flat out. Work's been busy, challenging. If it wasn't for Mr. John Maxwell in the car, I would have been absolutely off my nut this week.
Right.
So
A lot of
that's
stuff
my.
going on.
It's just busy, and it's a weird one because I've come from a corporate background in the public sector. It's just, not to say it's slow, it's just hard to get people to get on with change. Like I feel like I'm banging my head against the wall sometimes, and I'm trying to be like creative. I'm trying to be like engaging. I'm trying to be like everything I can possibly think about, and how to get people on board, how to get people to like, get on board with the change. But it just seems to be, we've done this for so long, this way it works. If it's not broke, don't fix it kind of culture. But I've started like doing small things like language and culture. So basically, we used to have a term called business as usual, which it kills me. I'm like, that just means as normal. Do you know what I mean? So I've changed that from, it's not business as usual, it's continuous improvements. So just changing culture and language, that's helped big time, but I still struggle. And I try to be optimistic, but when you're starting to bang your head, you're thinking, right, what gives first, your optimism or, your...
So is this your direct team that you're talking about?
So I'm in a very soft skills engagement, kind of like my product delivery lead. So basically I sit within business and digital for software development. And basically I go out and speak to the stakeholders. So with external stakeholders, with internal stakeholders, now they're all not the same. But I do deal with some very abrupt ones who are just not open to change and stuff. So I listen to podcasts about, leadership, I listen to podcasts about dealing with hard customers, and they're all great. They're great podcasts, but you get to the point where you go, I've implemented all I know. I've played all my cards. I've done everything I can. Try to be innovative about what I do. And it's just like, you're trying to stay positive, and you're like, but I'm still using a lot of this stuff, like about being authentic. So I'm not trying to be John Maxwell, and I'm not trying to be, leaders of the world. I'm just being me. Do you know what I mean? I'm not trying to impose an imposter on me. I'm just being like, you know what? I'll keep doing what I'm doing. I'll take I'll listen to podcasts, but I'll take what I need from them, and I'll leave the podcast where it is. Like, I'm not trying to be John
Yeah.
Maxwell, and I'm not trying to be Simon Sinek.
Is there a time limit that you have on creating this change?
No. Well,
No?
the time limit's how long I can last it out before I jump ship. That's the time limit.
I'm gonna say just something just around time and change. And
Okay.
you've probably seen something like it before, but there's like a process that people go through, and it's a bit like grief, to be honest with you, when organizations are changing, or when somebody's coming in and creating a change that they have maybe very little, maybe they have some sort of influence or say in it, but maybe don't have the ultimate say at what gets changed. And the dynamics of that can be quite difficult when you're on the other side and being told this is everything that's shifting and changing. And there's a process that people go through, and it can take years.
Yeah.
For people, and especially organizations that are business as usual and they're set in their ways. And if you have people that aren't used to change, then it's even like the language of change is enough to scare people back into old patterns and ways of doing things and being. So I'll hunt it out, and I'll say it's in a book somewhere. I'll photocopy it, or what do you call that? It's not photocopy. It's the other thing that you're doing, and I'll email it to you. What do you say?
Yeah.
Scan.
That's it.
Fax.
I was
Fax it
going to say
over.
facts.
Fax it
I thought
over
you were
to
gonna
them.
say
Everything.
Facts, that's it. The other thing I was thinking there, Kieran, is in terms of the change, like, who's ultimately responsible for it? Are you, or is there someone above you? Like, who's asking you to do all this?
So there's no one asking, in a sense. Basically, my role's in a very it's a powerful position in terms of it's me who decides what goes into a sprint, as they call it in the agile world, is in two weeks of work. So it's me who decides what goes into it, but it's really what's the requirements of business that I'm delivering. So it's business who runs it. I lead it from a digital point of view, making sure I've got resource and stuff. But if there's been people before me, and there's obviously the taboos around work where you get stories being like, oh, this person left because of this person, and this person we left because there's no change, and this person left because he couldn't get his change through. And you just try to stay away from that, and you just try and go, right, that was the past, this is the future. Like, one of my friends told me in work, he gave me this thing where a guy walks into work in his first day, and his manager says to him, there's 3 envelopes on your desk, only open them when you're frustrated, and you open them one by one. So he comes in, he's like, everything's going great, everything starts to dip. He opens his first envelope, and it says, blame your predecessors. And it's like, okay, no worries. So he starts blaming his predecessors, and then he gets back up, everything's going well again. And he basically goes in, and it's like the next envelope, he gets frustrated again, he opens it and says, blame the people. And basically he goes by, does that, sacks a few people, goes about his job again, everything's getting good again, so he's got the right people in. And then he's like, oh, it's frustrating again. And then the next envelope he opens is, all right, tell the next person coming in behind you before you leave the problems you just faced. And he says this is the sequence that people go through of like, I've tried, I'll blame my predecessors, I'll go again, right? I'm not happy, it's the people's fault, it's not my fault. And then again, someone's going to come in behind you and think the exact same thing, and it's a cycle. Which I just tend to find is always, something I always find in my life, like being like, I've seen this pattern before. So like I said there, the timelines when I just get fed up. Do you know what I mean? But the one thing I love about this job is that exposure and that frustration that, it's me who's delivering the change. You can go into the corporate world and everything's fancy and shiny, and you don't feel like you've made a dent, and you could move on to another company, where this one's like hands-on, nitty-gritty. It's me who's making the change. It's my name that's getting recognized in the company. Being like, this guy's actually getting his hands dirty and actually trying to make a change and stuff. But yeah, no, it's me who initially drives the change. But like I said, it's just that kind of, resilience, if you want to call it that. Like, you keep going and stuff. And I was remember listening to the podcast. The only thing that stood out to me was, it's easy to have courage when you don't need it. Do you know what I mean? So like, if you're in a position where you're going, oh yeah, no, this is hard, I'm just going to give up. Where if you have courage, stick it out, and you don't really know your courage until you're in a situation where you need it.
Yeah. Yeah.
to speak out and make yourself known. So that's where I'm at the moment. It's a big process, but I think this course has really helped in terms of, you know, sitting back. I'm not reactive as I used to be, because I would have just shouted at people by now. Where I've just sat back going, that's not the answer. And I remember listening to my last podcast before I move on. So basically, it was all about, you have to have the two C's. You have the candor, and you have to basically care. And you can't be honest with someone unless you care, and you can't care for someone unless being honest. So that's what I've went in with. Been like, I'll tell people honestly, but I'll make sure there's enough care there before I do that, before I hurt someone.
Yeah. Do they have? I'm interested in Sean and Dan. What do you guys think? Because both of you are managing people and work with people and are about getting the best out of people as well. I have 101 questions I'd love to ask you about it, Kieran, but I'm just wondering, in terms of the staff, do they have any support? Like, what support do they have outside of you when they're going, because I'm thinking they have stuff that they need to deliver for you on a project basis, but then there's also a lot of change that you're trying to implement and create. So what support do they have to be able to transition through the change and keep meeting targets and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, so that's the thing, and that's where I've come in from. You know, there's been people who's done my job before and they've left because either their change isn't getting done or something. So there's that, you know, skepticism, if you want to call it, being, oh, next guy, big ideas, and then they'll be gone because, you know, nothing's happened. So there's that skepticism of it, but there's also that level of, it's almost like a churning wheel. Since I've come in, it just seemed like everyone's just, you know, business as usual. Once that's done, next thing. Once that's done, the next thing. And the big thing seems to be people don't have time for personal growth, don't have time for personal development. So what my change is all about is getting efficiency. Like, forget about like quantity, it's quality. If we can pull it right back and go, do you know what, guys, if we provide smaller doses of things at a faster rate, it's much better than a longer period of something that's just not valuable to the company. So it's just recalibrating the culture in the company, but also just I suppose the culture within my team. Like, there's no DNA. It just seems to be that, you know, we don't really know who's in charge. We don't know who the taskmaster is. We don't really know where we're going. Like, we're building this tool, but it's because we want to get rid of another tool, but there's no vision for the tool. And I'm like, guys, you're building blind. Like, I'm like, oh, I've never heard that term before. And that says, you're just building blind. Like, I could ask you where that tool is going to be in 2 years' time, and you can't tell me. I can ask you where it's going to be in 1 year's time, and you still can't tell me. So I says, let's break it down. Where's it going to be in 3 months from now? Where's it going to be by Christmas? Where's it going to be after Christmas? And they're going, oh, well, this is what we want to do with it. And then their ideas start to come out, but it's just like making it tangible, where there has been people in the organization who have amazing, brilliant ideas, but they're not conceptual, and you can't break it down. You're like, that's amazing, but we're no Google, we're no Facebook. You know, we're a public sector who provide public transport. Do you know what I mean? So you can be optimistic, but be a realist at the same time.
Yeah. Cool. Sean, Dan, any words of wisdom when it comes to like supporting teams when there's a lot of change going on?
No words of wisdom as such. I'm just, I think I'm starting to come like full circle around from where Kieran's at the minute. So I've gone through this whole thing of coming in and trying to be that fresh face, try to do, you know, make improvements, try to streamline and make things efficient. And you have this team that are just reluctant to change. And you try to motivate them, you bring them into the meeting. So like, I really value your input. I need you, I want to make this thing work better. I need your help, and try to empower them that way. And you'll get the people that will catch on to that and feel like they're, you know, that their opinions are valued. And you get the people who go, to Kieran's point, here we go again. And it's very, very difficult to change that culture. What I find is you'll have, in my team anyway, I have 5 or 6 guys that I can sit and talk to about where I'd like to go, get their opinions. And I'll have the other guys that just want to complain about how bad it is, but will never, ever offer a bit of support, never come up with an idea, never even want to get involved. If there is a bigger project going on, will do the bare minimum, won't put themselves out. And I find then that drags down all the rest of the team. But unfortunately, as manager, you can't sack people because they're not doing more than what their job is. So you're kind of stuck. So I've gone through all of that, and it's tough, and I still haven't gotten to the point of making any real big impact in terms of change. But part of that is the hierarchy as well. I can bring ideas to my superiors, and they'll go, that sounds great. And then you ask for the support, you ask for overtime to implement things, you ask for additional resources, whether it's equipment, and you don't get it. So then I end up turning into one of those people then that are like, sure, what's the point?
Yeah.
Like for the last 5 years now, being in my role, I've asked for more space for storing all of our equipment. I've asked for like more forklifts, extra staff, open up another hatch at the end of the building so we can reduce all the wasted time walking. None of that's happened. But lately now, there's been another person come in that reminds me of myself whenever I started, all fresh, full of ideas, who's my superior. And I'm thinking, well, maybe this is my opportunity now to bounce off them. While they're fresh, I'll change my approach. I'll get rid of the I'm sick of dealing with this stuff mentality. Nothing ever changes. And I'll be the person that I want my staff to be to my superior. And hopefully then if I can, I suppose, piggyback on my superior's experience or wanting to get stuff done, maybe we can slowly start to change that culture while we have somebody fresh in the business that's willing to, is excited about getting involved and stuff and trying to implement change and wants to make those improvements. So I'd say just stick at it, Kieran. I think the thing that I've learned is try not to end up being one of your staff that just loses faith in the whole place. Try to keep that positivity. And it was one of the guys said something to me today. He'd be a bit philosophical or whatever, and we were talking about bigger projects and how things are going to happen. And he said, it's as simple as this. You take a seed, you throw it in the ground. All you need is a bit of soil, a bit of water, nothing big, and then you don't know what might grow. So let's just start planting the seeds. And I went, it's freaking brilliant. That's the sort of people I want around me. So yeah, I'd say try not to get demotivated or from the people that in your team that are opposing the change. Just try to stay strong and push through it.
I think that's one of the things, Dan, that you mentioned there about the hierarchy in organizations as well. If you're not in a position to be able to make a change across the whole organization, then your job is going to be 10 times harder to change a culture. I think you can create a really decent culture within a team, within a small team, within an organization. But to change the whole culture without having that level of authority to be able to do that, I think is a bit of a uphill battle. But you mentioned it already, Kieran, around resilience. It's having the resilience the day in and day out of being a leader and leading and choosing to lead when you don't want to anymore.
Yeah.
Sean, what do you think?
I suppose I'm coming from maybe a different sector. In terms of you guys are obviously it sounds like businesses or public sector, and you manage the social care sector, social work sector, whatever way you want to look at it. It's difficult, Kieran. I was thinking of all the fluffy words I could say, the motivating words, but I think the honest answer is that it is very difficult. I've been through 2 change management processes in different services, which the first one was basically totally restructuring a team with redundancies and a new structure coming out, and you had new staff on the other end, and the new staff were probably easier to implement change with because they were just coming in. I've also part of one now where we're restructuring the current service, and the team will continue. There's no redundancies as such, but I suppose culture is one of the big things, and there's certain things that you can do to create culture. What's that? 2 points, two other points there. The first point was about yourself. So you can't change everything, and you won't be the change that everybody needs. So there's a little bit there about stepping back and self-care. And I'm wondering why people in your position before, like you said, fell away and didn't continue the job because they became so rejected or dejected, about maybe what they were trying to achieve. And I think we can really, it's about realistic change. Because I suppose if we try to impart our vision, which we do, on the people, and it may become a process which will inadvertently be detrimental to yourself in terms of your own self-care and your own joy for work. So I suppose that's something that you need to consider in terms of, and you probably already have, but just that whilst we'll have these ideals of where we want to get to, it is tough to get there, and it's about kind of maintaining yourself as you're there. So I can't remember the second point I was going to say, but I think Dan had mentioned something I was going to say. But yeah, it's difficult. So it is. I mean, there is within my team. I have a small enough team. It's quite large for the organisation I work for. It's one of the largest in the organisation, but I have about 18 direct reports below me, which is 18 people. So it's not a massive organization in terms of you're talking hundreds of people, but it is quite difficult to bring everybody along. But we would hold regular kind of team meetings every fortnight. We would do events every now and again, and just try to kind of keep that team ethos up, because we're all working closely together in a residential unit. Well, I'm not really in the unit, but so yeah, it's just about trying to be creative about how we inspire people, and how we get them to buy into our vision. The second thing was not falling into that trap of, and I find myself doing it all the time, because there is people in the team that are nearly, you would describe them as useless, but other people in the team know that. And then there's a little bit of kind of the ongoing kind of chatter in the background about how useless people are and things like that there. And I do get frustrated at times, and sometimes I fall into that with the select few of my colleagues saying, you get so dejected or about certain people. So it's maybe not falling into that trap, because then we just become the change that we don't want to be. So yeah, that's my input to it. But it is difficult. But I mean, you're not going to change nothing if you're not there again. So you're not. So you take care of yourself first and foremost, and that's something that I have. Well, is my big downfalls when you try to be everything for everybody. It's not going to happen.
That's very important, Sean, what you're saying there about that you are doing stuff like regular meetings, and you take time as a team to go out with, like, what sort of stuff do you do when you go out? Like, just do you do something fun, or is it like just going out to a pub, or
well, the new service
might be like one of these like team building type of days out? Or
the new service was created in May 2020, so we've really been a victim of COVID throughout our team history. And because we're residential, we were always together. So it wasn't as if people were working from home, and it was great because we had people together. So we haven't been able to kind of go out and do the dinners and we were going to do something at Christmas there, and we decided against it because the COVID levels were rising. But what we have done in the summers is we've done barbecues, we've brought people together just kind of for little events in the unit and stuff like that, COVID compliant, but the barbecues are outdoors, so it was great. We did a development night in November, and we what do you call the hotel next to the bot? The Wellington, is it? No, it is, isn't it?
The Wellington Hotel, yeah.
So we booked out a room there, which was big enough to hold, COVID compliant, big enough to hold 18, 20 people. And we did basically, I mean, they probably thought months of plan went into it. I kind of won it on the night or
Winged
the
it.
or the week before, but it was really about getting
Dude, work skills coming out there, Sean.
I had sent them 4 themes in an email a couple of weeks prior to that and asked them to consider them. So we did a SWOT analysis on 4 different themes in the where we thought the next steps were in terms of opportunities. We didn't really focus on threats too much, but we looked at barriers and things like that. So even bringing people together on a Thursday night down to the Wellington Hotel worked pretty well. And so we did the first part. We did the first part as group work, basically. Yeah, it was group work, so it was. And then the second part was we did a quiz and we did a Donkey Derby. So I don't know if you've ever seen it online. I had never seen it. There was another colleague of mine that said to me about it. But it's a YouTube clip. Just type in our Irish Donkey Derby or maybe just Donkey Derby. And it's basically donkeys racing around, but there's a whole commentary behind it. And it's set in like 1994 down in Cork or something. And you got everybody to kind of say which donkey they thought would win and stuff like that there. And the commentary is hilarious. So it's not about who's the horse or the donkey winning, it's about the commentary. And it was just kind of a couple of fun things after. And then after that, some people went to the bar and stuff. And I had great intentions of going to the bar, but I'm just too old now. So by the time the day was over, I drove home. But it was good to bring the guys together. So a little bit of a kind of a reward for their work, a little bit of how we can drive the organization forward, and a little bit of just kind of just chill time. So we do during COVID, we couldn't have everybody in the unit at the same time, so we did like quizzes and stuff. So it was just trying to be creative around what we had and what we could do to keep people together. We have a WhatsApp group for a team chat. I'm not a big believer in stemming the chat, so it's used for work purposes or it's used for a bit of crack and banter times. I know some people like to keep it work related and stuff, but I join in the crack and stuff as well sometimes. So there's you just try to create that culture that everyone's together and a little bit of an ethos, and nobody's excluded from the team chat. You know what I mean? So everybody gets to buy into it. So you have to be creative within, especially with COVID and stuff. But that's the stuff that we have done anyway. But we've certainly tried to bring people together when we could. And I think the kind of I think people get stuff out of that. When you're brought together as a team, you do kind of form a little bit of a team camaraderie, I suppose. So that's what we have done, but it's a totally different sector and stuff, and some of that might not work, but the social aspect of it is important, I suppose.
Yeah, it's extremely important. We're lacking. So for my team, I find that stuff like that where you can go out and just be a group, like even when it comes to Christmas, like the lads don't get a bonus, everybody else in the organization does. Where I'm working, like we're contracted in to provide a service, but then you have the actual direct employees and you might have several other contracting companies providing other services. So like they don't get a bonus at all. They don't get brought out for a meal. There's nothing. Yeah. So like what I've been trying to say to my guys or to my bosses is that, like, even if you put 50 quid for every person, like it's only going to be about 1,500 quid. Like, it's not, in the grand scheme of things, that will make you'll get 10 times that back. Absolutely. In staff morale and productivity and just wanting to show up for work, never mind anything else. People feeling that they're important, that they're valued. You can't buy that, you can't put a cost on that, in my opinion.
It's like you're absolutely right, Don. It's like anywhere in life, if you feel wanted and belonging, it's going to filter through your workload. You're going to, you'll see productivity rise, you'll see kind of engagement, you'll see ideas and people want to jump in and do things. And if people don't feel wanted and the organization, just the way you're saying the different layers and stuff, and maybe people are contracted in, it seems so fragmented. Maybe there's lots of different teams and not a different kind of so it's very, very difficult within that situation to build a cohesive team, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
What are you hearing, Kieran, as the lads are talking there and sharing their their insights.
No, it's good. It's quite interesting, the overlap. And I think it's something I've made sure that I do in terms of work-life balance, is having that care for myself. So I was in my old job, I was very much like, yeah, I didn't do overtime. 5 o'clock, my computer goes off and I go home to my family. Like that's the culture I drive, and that's the culture I do. And I expect it to with my staff. Like if their family's sick, I always tell them, like, our job, we don't save lives. No one's going to die if you go home. I said, like, go home, be with your family. Family comes first. And driving that culture of, like, and I think COVID was a big, massive driver and a catalyst for this stuff. Like, people start working from home. You start seeing people in their homes, in the front of their living rooms, their kitchens, their kids where they're doing summer, the kids where they're doing holidays and stuff. And they give that real, I suppose, first time looking into their, their private life as well. Because it's like, sometimes their kids come on the camera and say hello to you. And yeah, it was a massive catalyst for blending work and your public life as well. And I suppose there's two sides to the coin. Some people like that, and some people are like, I can't really work because my kids are off holidays. I can't really do this, can't do that. I have to look after that. So, it's something I've always driven, was just, having a work-life balance. Like, don't kill yourself to work. Like, and it's something I believe in. And Sean's right. You need to put value on your people around you. But at the same time, you need to put value in yourself. And I always kind of try to, like we're talking about, don't fall into the trap of being a nagger or being that person that you don't like in the first place. You're thinking, all they do is, like, they're negative and they don't have anything good to put in. And then you find next day that you're that nagger talking to someone else and they're thinking, this guy's such a nagger. Like, and people do what they see. Do you know what I mean? So it's kind of like, what do you do going forward? Like, how do you stop being that nagger? How do you stop, getting involved in that? And I tend to find that it's find 5 people in my work who are growers, who, like, invest in me, find 5 people who are beyond me. Because if I'm the most experienced, most professional person in my 5 people, I can't grow anymore. So I make sure that when I surround myself with people at work, that they're beyond me, they're in a higher level of position, they're in a higher level of exposure. And then what that means, I'm always continually learning. So I've never been in a place of work where I'm like, hanging with, what people say, the useless ones, or the people who are just there for the crack, or just there to get their wage, their pension, whatever you want to call it. Like, I tend to try and find myself at the table with the growers, the people who are, like, going somewhere, have vision for something. So yeah.
Which is good for you, but I would challenge you to spend time with those other people as well.
Mm-hmm.
The leader, because if you're exclusively spending time with a certain set of people all the time, they'll see that.
Yeah.
Which might make it harder for you in the long run. It's like, how do you get everybody on board?
Mm-hmm.
Listen, that was a great conversation. Thanks for that, Kieran. Thanks for stimulating that.
I could talk about that all night.
There's so much in it, though, isn't it? Because there's
yeah.
Anyway, don't start me. There's loads in it. I was about to go and get a book like this book. Anyway, Dan, where are you at? How's your week been? What has been great about your week?
Yeah, week's been good, actually. Kind of just on to what we were talking about when I was saying there that I find myself now, I'm starting to come round full circle from being that person that came in with the fresh ideas to being completely demotivated because of the culture in the place, just whatever, just show up and just do what I need to do, and don't push myself too much. Like, I can't remember what we were talking about last week, but I was looking for podcasts, and I listened to a few of the podcasts that you'd sent on, Kieran, so thanks for that. And not that I got anything like, wow, I never thought of that before, but it just kind of made me rethink about, like, what it means to be a leader. And if I'm already demoted and deflated and couldn't be arsed anymore and sick of the culture, then I'm no use to any of my team. So this week I'm trying to set a new mindset for myself. And as I said, like, I've got new people coming in that are senior to me, that are fresh in the door, that have that kind of will for change and improvement that I'm hoping I'll be able to bounce off and use that for a bit of momentum to make the change I need. And even what I was saying about bringing the team in and making them feel empowered, I've started to do that now. So I think I've got for work, I've got a new kind of mindset now to try and, you know, revisit things that I kind of stopped doing because of the culture. So we'll see how long that lasts. Next week you could be asking me to say, like this, a load of crap.
Yeah.
The team are crap and I'm crap and management are crap, and yeah, I quit my job, by the way. So yeah, that's kind of been I think a positive thing from work. And then I suppose what I was saying last week about trying to spend more time with the boys, that one-on-one time. Laura was away at the weekend, so I had to do all the training runs, but because we didn't have the two people, the times were, their trainings are 2 different times, so I was able to drop one off and we took a good walk around the university grounds and got that one-on-one time with the boys, and also as just a lads weekend basically.
Was that one-on-one time?
Out. It was good, like I said before, like it was about trying to, you know, have those one-on-one conversations with the boys. Now, mostly it was like with Davey, it was like listening to Davey tell me all about Pokemon and try to learn all their names. But that's what he loves, and like, you know, I have to entertain that as well. Like, as much as if he was to ask me now, haven't a clue.
There's a yellow one, isn't there?
Huh?
There's a yellow one.
Pikachu. There you go.
There you go. There you
go. Yeah, no, it was good. Similarly with Danny, like just messing around. We did a bit of a barbecue and ended up playing soccer in the evening and hockey and just messing around the back garden. So yeah.
What's that like for you, Dan? Like, for having intentionally set that goal, you know, and now you're creating that I know it happened because Laura was away, but you intentionally created that space. Like, what's that like?
No, I think it's great, and I think yeah, you're right. Like the space was almost created because Laura was away, so I had to be there anyway to look after them. But aside from that, like I think I said it last week, it's about me or it might have been on a conversation we were just having by ourselves, Vinty. It was about trying to be present in the moment. So like if I'm sitting flicking on my phone or just watching some nonsense on TV and the boys want to play a game or want me to be involved in something, like, you know, what's more important in that moment, you know? Like there'll come a time where the boys will be locking themselves in the room and won't want to have anything to do with me. So need to kind of embrace those moments and enjoy them and be present as you know, enjoy them and value them and try and create them if I can. If I can create them. If that means turning off the TV because Davey's watching TV in the mornings, turn it off, get outside, kick a ball. I don't know. Yeah. Whatever it may be, but yeah, it's a good feeling. It's good. It's always good when it goes good, you know, that way. But yeah, when you know how the two boys are, aren't they? So they're chalk and cheese. They're completely different. So once they start kind of rubbing off on each other and getting on each other's nerves, then it can quickly turn to something that you've got in your head. You know, vision what you want and it'll happen. Yeah, this isn't what I was planning. And then you have to try and rein yourself in from getting annoyed at the situation and bring it back into where you want to be. So yeah.
And you hit on a really, really important point because, you know, I think as parents, we've probably all experienced that, Dan, where we have in our head, we've created something, we're away on holiday or something, we're doing something class with the kids. We've painted this idea of what it's going to be like. And then you get there and it's just a bloody nightmare. And then we're grumpy and they're grumpy and everyone's grumpy. And it's like, why did I even do these things? The important point in that that you hit on is our attitude towards things when they don't go according to our mindset or how we thought things were going to go. And I think sometimes, you know, that's the maybe challenge when we visualize things, is that we're seeing it a certain way, and he can get us all built up for it to be a certain way, which makes when it goes a different way, it makes it even harder. Do you know what I mean? But that just requires us to be that idea of being flexible in the moment. And whatever's happening in the moment is what's supposed to be happening, because it's what's happening. That's back to your presence thing. Do you know what I mean? That sounds very flippant, but it is. Do you know what I mean? Either we can be caught up and being this should be something different, and this is meant to be a really nice experience, and you have ruined it. And I've said those things to the girls before myself, you know, but it's actually realizing, actually, do you know what? This is perfect. This is exactly the way it's meant to be, because it's what's happening. And then that can kind of help you. It helps me anyway, kind of connect with that moment, because I just accept, well, this is the way it is. That's okay. I'm just going to have to deal with some naughty behavior, starting with me. Sean, thanks, Dan. Sean, I know we didn't really get to talk about any successes for you or any things that are going well. So what's new? What's changed? What's been great?
Do you want me to be honest, or do you want me to?
Honest, yeah, absolutely. I'm shaking my head by going, yeah. Don't know anything. Let's be honest.
The past week and a half has been hard, so it has. So in terms of like goals and what I was aiming and setting out to do, I've kind of just reverted again back into the normal, just the normal grind. Work has been hectic at the minute, just with the new financial year, and our budgets are just through and different things, and it's chaos at the minute. And then just with a bit of sickness and stuff in the house, it's just so difficult. It's more difficult when the child's sick than it is than when you're sick. So it's just been, it's been a tough week, so it has. But I mean, there's been lots of good things within it as well. But just when I think it's just when you're this age, when you have children that young, and you've got your priorities, and it's just tough on the parents, like in terms of like child's off from childminder, one of us has to not work. And it's see the negotiations and the conversations around who does that, and who has a heavier workload. And it's just, it's been a horrible old week. As I say, Carrie's picked up a few things over the past couple of weeks, like, so just finally starting to feel a little bit better, and then I'm now starting to feel like I've got something coming on. It's not cold, like, but so in terms of the goals, the walk-on was going great. About 2 weeks ago, I was out. The new Apple Watch was ticking over. It was telling me every day how great it was. And it's just it's vibrating every night to make sure I'm alive, because I'm not walking. I haven't been to football in 2 weeks, and that's a big sign for me. When I'm playing football twice a week, you're motivated, you're getting exercise in, you're getting whatever, and I haven't been. So hopefully Saturday's the first time I'm going back. So, and then there's the bigger goals and the smaller goals of like trying to not drink fizzy drinks. That's sounds a bit silly and stuff like that there, but once I'm in that kind of just the daily grind, I just revert back. I've been trying to go off these nicotine things for a while, and I was doing so well. I was down to basically off them 2 weeks ago, and now I can't get enough of them back into me. It's my go-to when I get stressed, you see. So so the goals, I needed tonight to kind of refocus and recalibrate. So I kind of was thinking about work as well earlier, like when you were talking. That's something I said at the start. Like I don't know, I think I operate better in chaos, so I do. And it's when it slows down is when I start to panic and things like that there. So work has been chaotic the past month. So yeah, I think
when you slow down, do you usually get sick when you slow down, when things slow down?
Sick sometimes. Slow down, it's not hard to explain, but there's a fear of slowing down, and when things do slow down, I don't know how to operate. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Like I'm so used to working in chaos in terms of my, like, everybody in the unit will think everything's grand, but when I have so much going on, I thrive off chaos at times, and that maybe sounds a bit silly, but I thrive off, yeah. So it's when I'm on top of things is probably when I'm at my weakest point, when things are slowing down, because I don't know. I know I've talked before about avoidance and stuff like that, but I would use other stuff to avoid a lot of things. So I'm now at the point now where I go through these cycles, and I will have all the energy and enthusiasm in the world starting this course, and that will be great. And then when things do slow down, I intentionally maybe create a little bit of chaos in terms of what's going on, because that's my comfort zone. So I need to know how to operate outside of that zone rather than inside. And that's probably left field to what you're asking me there, Vinty, but the week has been hard. Like,
do you know what? It's a perfect answer because it's the honest answer. And I'd
Yeah.
rather you sit here and be honest than, you know, just go, "I great, yeah. I mean, all my goals, smashing them, brilliant." You know, it's like, you know,
even the silly ones, like, and Dan, you hit on it as well. See, even the flicking on the phone and stuff. See, not that there's been much downtime, but when there is, just totally avoiding of everything else and everybody else in the room, just wanting to be on the phone, not wanting to engage in conversations, and that's the kind of the way I go. And then I'd actually forgot today was Thursday. I forgot, and then when you texted in earlier, I was like, "Geez, brilliant! The group's on tonight and go tonight and stuff like that." There, so I'm at a stage now, and I get this cycle all the time where I know things have to slow down a bit. And it's just, I suppose, get my head back on track as to where I want to go here.
but there's a fear of slowing down as well, is what you're saying.
There's always a fear of me of slowing down. Yeah, I think as I said, I operate better in chaos, I think.
Yeah, I think chaos can bring the best out in you for sure in people. You know,
And that's more work. I mean, chaos. It's not that I create chaos in the family life or anything like that. There, it's in work. That I'm alluding to.
You sure now? I'm joking. I'm joking.
Yeah, it filters in though with
I
how you're feeling, and when you get home from work, or when you're whatever, and your avoidance and whatever. But but yeah. So that's the honest answer.
Brilliant. Thanks for your honesty. I mean, these kinds of things, you know, the more honest you can be, the better. And it's really interesting that you're also very, very aware of that pattern that you're in. And I'm wondering, this is a rhetorical question, I'm wondering what it would take to break that. You know, or I've loads of questions about it. You know, is it healthy? Is it serving you? Is it not serving you? In what ways? You know, what's it giving you by being in that pattern? You know, there's so many things to explore there, because obviously it's there and you're in that pattern because it's serving you in some way. It's giving you something that you need. I'm wondering if there's healthier ways to get what you need.
It's discipline. So it is. I think it falls down to discipline. I don't think I have much discipline. Like, I can now say at the start of the cycle again, everything's great. I will let things overtake me. I will not take care of myself and work. I will work all the hours of the day. I will. I don't have that discipline, so I don't. And I don't know how to get out of them cycles, I suppose.
Yeah. Cool. I have something that might help, a little exercise, just so you can explore that a wee bit further. That'll send on to you. Exercise for someone, explore cycle. The wheel of fear actually ties into what you're talking about there.
Yeah.
A little bit. As well, I want to offer out to you, I have 2 simple ways to help you stop fizzy drinks. It's just a process. It's a process that I use for people. So if you're interested, send me a text. We'll jump on a call when you're free, and I'll take you through the process.
Okay.
So I'll file that out for you. 2 questions for you guys, and you're a leader as well, Sean. So, I mean, you can ask yourself these as well. As you were talking, a couple of things were coming to my mind. I just love asking questions because it gets kind of deeper to what's really going on and creating things. So, one, because we're talking about leadership tonight, one of the questions I have is, again, it's a question I ask all the time. I ask, who are you? But I'm interested in, who are you as a leader? You know, what are your values as a leader? What do you believe leadership is? What are your skills as a leader? What do you bring as a leader? what are you trying to do as a leader? Okay, so that's one question. And the other thing, which is kind of putting yourself in your your followers' shoes. I don't know, the people who work underneath you. How do you want them to feel? How do you want them to feel being around you? And then that should really help you figure out how you want to engage with them. If you want them to feel empowered and motivated and excited or equipped or whatever it might be.
Fearful.
Fearful, yes.
Joking.
Yeah. So there are two questions you can think about. I'm aware of time here. I'm going to do the session in 20 minutes. Okay. So I'm going to just go through it a little bit more quickly. Sorry, my dog is, I think it's Dan. I'm not even joking. It's kind of got this cough where it's like, you probably heard it there, did you? No?
Heard something there,
Yeah. So if it dies in the middle of this, I might have to go and attend to it.
So again, was it?
That was it again, yeah. Nice, share screen. Okay. And yeah, I was ahead a week last week. I said it was week 7 last week. It wasn't.
I just believed you. It's like, God, 7 already. We're flying through this. This is so great.
Brilliant. Where am I? What's going on? And John, can you fire your videos off there for a wee second? Animations, transitions, slideshow from current slide. All right, guys, welcome to week 7. Week 7, mind your P's and Q's. Now, this isn't all about bad language and that kind of stuff. This goes a little bit deeper than bad language. What we're really looking at this week is how do we actually control our emotional states. One of the things that has been, I guess, really, really important to me and with the clients that I work with is teaching and equipping people to manage their emotional states, so manage their feelings. So you can imagine that, you know, as you go about your day, you can be experiencing all sorts of emotions, even as we were talking there today, when you're working in teams and when you're leading people, you can imagine all the different emotions that you're going through as you're working with people. I remember a mentor of mine used to say, people are the hardest to work with in organizations. You know, you can have like the workload when you can get through the workload, but when it comes to people, it can be really, really challenging. But the people are actually what makes the organizations. So how you feel and your emotional state really, really matters when it comes to working in organizations, matters when you're leading people, matters in your family, matters in your business. Because if you are in a really great emotional state, you can make better decisions. When you're in a really great emotional state, you can connect better with people. When you're in a really great emotional state, you can see things with a lot more clarity. But when you aren't able to manage your state, you kind of feel like you're one of those pin machines, and you're just a pinball machine, and you're just battering away from one emotion to the other. So really learning to manage your emotional state is really, really important. I think particularly, you know, I'm looking at my own life here as a father, as a dad, as someone who has kids. And I want to be able to model out, you know, healthy ways to express emotion and have emotion. But I want to also express, you know, how you handle your emotion and how you manage your emotions. So that's what we're going to look at tonight. And we've all got emotions. We've all got feelings as part of being human, as part of the human experience. We get to feel everything and anything. But how we navigate our emotional life is really, really crucial. I think as men as well, it can be challenging because we're never really taught, unless it's been modeled out to us by parents or a significant person in our life, but we're never really taught about how to manage our emotional states, how to actually move through what we're feeling. So let's get into it. There we go. So emotions are the language of the soul. So if your eyes are the window to your soul, then our emotions are the language of the soul, or the voice of the soul. And our emotions are the language of our soul, because our emotions are connected to that, excuse me, our emotions are connected to that deeper part of ourselves. We've talked a lot about our unconscious mind, and our emotions come from the unconscious mind. And the unconscious mind is 95% of our mind. It is the things that go on unseen. So our emotions are connected to our inner voice. They're connected to our inner knowing. It's connected to our values. It's connected to our beliefs. And it's connected to the very, very core of who we are. So we gotta learn how to really, I guess, connect there, and to learn how to use our emotions wisely to be able to get into states, emotional states that are productive, that are helpful, to be able to move through times when we're maybe feeling overwhelmed. So being able to manage how we feel, to be able to manage your emotional state, as I said, is one of the greatest assets that you can have. And there's a method here that I'm going to teach you today. So if you imagine, we have about 65,000 thoughts per day. I have no idea how that was measured, but some clever scientists put this together, and they've said we have about 65,000 thoughts per day. And we know that our thoughts, from the work that we've done here, our thoughts have a direct impact on how we feel. They have an impact on our behavior, and therefore they have an impact on the results that we get in our life. So the challenge is that out of all of the thoughts that we have, out of all of those thoughts, 65,000 thoughts, about 90% of those thoughts are the same as yesterday. So if you imagine if 90% of your thoughts are negative thoughts, or catastrophizing thoughts, or thoughts of sabotage, or thoughts that just aren't healthy and productive, if 90% of your thoughts are that way, and that's the way you're thinking every single day, no wonder it's hard to get out of a rut. No wonder it's hard to set goals and achieve it, because we're thinking the same thoughts over and over and over again. And since our emotions are the fuel that actually drive your life, I think it'd be really, really useful for us to be able to tap into having a variety of emotions, which means we need to be able to really tap into how we're thinking, and to be able to change our thoughts. And that's again what we're going to look at today. There's a famous book, it's called the Bible, and in the Bible it says this: do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. I want you just to focus on that last part: be transformed by the renewing of your mind. And this is something that really stands out to me in the work that we're doing together on this Mind Fit program, and in the Clarity Men's community. We want to be able to renew our lives. We want to be able to change our lives in some way, to be able to create a new direction in our life, whether that's in our work as leaders, in our families, whatever it might be. There's a sense of wanting to create. But if we want to create, then we got to renew our mind. We got to be transformed by renewing our mind, by renewing our thinking. And if we don't renew our thinking, then we fall into old patterns of doing things the way we've always done them, because we're having the exact same thoughts that we've always had. So what we need to do is we need to become masters of our own mind. We have to become masters of our own thinking, and masters of our own emotional states. So your emotional state is how you feel at any given time. What I want you to do is I want you just to pause this video, and I want you to think about your emotional states that you feel in a week. And I want you to write them down. So I want you to make a list of all of the positive feelings that you have and all of the negative feelings that you have. Make a list of all the positive, make a list of all the negative. And then I want you to highlight 3 of those states or 3 of those feelings that you most commonly feel. 3 of those feelings that you most commonly feel. So we'll give you about 5 minutes to do that. And when you do that, you can come back and we'll get carried on. Excellent. Great. So if you're back listening to this, then you've just done the exercise. So by doing that exercise, what you've done is you've identified how you commonly feel. And we all fall into patterns of emotional feelings. For some of us, we have a high vibrational feeling, so we feel great most of the time. And, you know, sometimes we feel low, but for some of us, we have low vibrational energy, and we're maybe feeling overwhelmed, we're feeling sad, maybe we're feeling, you know, stress, whatever it might be. But it's important to identify what you commonly feel, because without knowing what you commonly feel, you can't actually make the change that you want to make. So now you should have highlighted 3 feelings that you most commonly have. And whatever they are, it's important then to do a little bit of work on digging behind what's behind those emotions. Okay, so if you commonly feel, let's say frustration, that's one of your most common emotions. What's behind that? What's creating frustration in your life? Why are those things creating frustration in your life? What are you making those situations and things mean? So you start digging behind it so that you can get some clarity on what's driving, what beliefs, what values, what meanings, what rules you have that are driving that emotion, so that when you become aware, you can actually begin to create change, so that you can feel a whole variety of emotions and not just those 3. What we're really talking about here is when you're doing these exercises, you're intentionally choosing what emotional state you want to live in. And that might sound daft, because I guess up until this point, maybe you've been just used to living your life and feeling whatever way that you want to feel. And certainly I've lived most of my life thinking that whatever way I feel is just the way I feel, and there's nothing that I can do about it. But back to what we have been talking about, back to that idea of reacting and responding, but also back to the idea of the person that can have the most success in life, whatever success means for you, is the person that's most flexible. And what do you need to be most flexible in? Well, I would argue that you need to be most flexible in your emotional state, because your emotional state is the fuel of life. It's the thing that drives you. It's the thing that drives your connection and your relationships with people. So we've got to become really intentional in choosing what emotional state that we want to be in. And there's a study that I came across just in the past week or so. And it's a study that was done back in the 90s, I think, of a whole 180 nuns in America. And 180 nuns were asked to write essays, and the essays were meant to be about their life. So 180 essays were written, and they were coded or researched for certain expressions of emotion. So they were analyzed, I think is the word, for positive emotions, and they were analyzed for negative emotions. So the nuns were scored on the amount of positive emotions that were expressed and the amount of negative emotions that were expressed in their writings, in their essays about their life. And what was really, really interesting is this, that 50% of the nuns who expressed, I guess, negative emotion had died within a year. And and about 20% of the nuns who expressed most positive expression of emotion were still living. So if you have actually I said within a year, that's totally wrong. That would be really scary if that happened. Around 50% of the nuns died and 20% lived. So I forget what the time period is there, but the point of the study was to show that if you have a positive outlook in life and you feel positive emotions about your life, according to this study, you're two and a half times more likely to survive into your 90s. So that's what it was. So 50% survived into their 90s. Now, that's not trying to suggest just by thinking and feeling positive things, you're going to live into your 90s. But what it's pointing at is that the nuns that did live into their 90s had a positive outlook about everything in their life. So life doesn't go the way we want it all the time. So obviously these nuns chose to think and feel positive about everything that was going on in their life. They were able to flip negatives around. They were able to change their emotional state. And that had a massive impact on their life. So I think it goes without saying that, you know, what we want to be doing is we want to be choosing emotions that are great for us, that are great for our bodies, that are great for our minds, and to be able to get out of the trap of, I guess, some people call it stinking thinking or negative thinking or whatever way you want to call it, but that thinking that just draws our energy. So really, we got to choose to raise our standards. We got to choose that we want to do this because it takes work. It's not easy to change your habits. It's not easy to change how you feel, but it is easy to choose. It is easy to choose to raise your standards and to go on a journey, to go on a process of choosing to live in better emotional states. So that's what we're going to be doing. So what I want to introduce you to is it's a really simple, straightforward tool to be able to change your emotional state. So whether you're frustrated, angry, upset, worried, stressed, anxious, this tool that I'm teaching you, the 3 levers of emotional fitness, will help you change how you feel so that you can take back control, so you can feel less anxious, so you can be more productive, so you can connect better with your employees, with your staff, that you can make better decisions, and that you can have more clarity in your life. So the first lever here that we talk about is focus. So we've all heard about focus before. We've all heard phrases like what you focus on, you get more of in your life. You know, what you focus your attention on, your energy flows there. Where your energy goes, where your attention goes, your energy flows. We've heard things like that. But the power of focus is so crucially important when it comes to your emotional fitness. You're either focusing on the negative or you're focusing on the positive. You're focusing on growing or you're focusing on retracting. You have the thing that you have in your arsenal is your focus, and your focus is a little bit like a light torch. Do you know what I mean? It sheds light on things. So if you can imagine, if your focus is always on how things aren't going to work, you know, how you're no good at this, how you're so tired, how your staff just aren't performing at the moment, and you're focused on the negative side of the coin, what does that do to your emotional state? It drains your energy, it creates stress, it creates worry, and it keeps you in a low emotional feeling. So the first thing that you have to take control of is, what are you focusing on? And it's not, just scenario based. Are you focusing on the positive and negative? It's also like the things that are going on in your own mind. What are you feeding your mind? Are you feeding your mind great podcasts and great books? So you're being around people that that uplift you, that can speak into your challenges, that can speak into your situations? Are you, are you focusing your mind on how you can create change in your life, or are you just allowing life to happen to you? The power of focus changes everything. It's about having flexibility and getting yourself off the slippery slope of just allowing life to happen to you. So this is why having a vision for your life is so important, because when you have a vision, you have something that you can focus on. When you have a vision for your family, for your finances, for your health, for your fitness, you have something that you can focus on. And sometimes it just takes a moment to refocus. If you've fallen off the wagon and you need to get back on, refocus, focus on what it is you want to create, why you want it, why it's so crucially important, and why you must have this change in your life. And you have absolute control over your focus. So your first lever is, what are you focusing on? Second lever here is your physiology. So your physiology, Tony Robbins says this: emotion is created by motion. Emotion is created by motion. Whatever you're feeling right now is directly related to how you're using your body. That might sound a little bit out there, but if you think back to the model of the mind, when we were talking about the NLP model of the mind, and if you think about how we take information in, we delete, distort, and we generalize, it sends a picture onto the back of our mind. On the back of our mind, then it creates an emotional state, and the emotional state then shows up in our body. So if the picture is a picture of overwhelm, that's what we're going to feel in our body, and that's the emotion we're going to feel. So if we're feeling overwhelmed, then our chest might be tight, we might be really tired, or we might be finding it hard to focus. It shows up in our body. As well as that, what he's saying here is that if every emotional state has a physiology connected to it. So if you imagine and think about a time when you were really, really happy, like a time when something really just amazing happened. Maybe you saw somebody that you hadn't seen in a long time, and this smile just comes upon your face, and your heart starts beating a little bit faster. Your eyes are wide open, endorphins are running through your body. There's a physiological reaction to that feeling of happiness. Now, if you imagine being worried about something, and just do it now as I'm talking here, and just close your eyes and think about a time that you were worried about something, and just feel what that feels like in your body as you begin to imagine that very thing that created worry. Maybe it was a bill that you needed to pay. Maybe it was, a deadline that you had, and you just don't have enough time to finish something that you needed to finish, and you're really concerned and worried about it. And you can just feel the heaviness inside your body. So how our body is a reflection of our emotional state. It's why people are body language experts. Whatever we're feeling, whatever we're thinking, always shows up in our body somehow. So what that really means for us is to be able to use this lever is that we gotta kind of train ourselves to be in a physiology of excellence. So I don't know what a physiology of excellence looks like for you, but if you could imagine it, maybe it's like, you're standing upright, you're standing tall, you're feeling strong, you're breathing well. You have a sense of clarity, your mind is clear, you're focusing on all the great things that you're going to be doing during the day. There's a happiness, there's a spring in your step, all of those kinds of things. So from here on in, what I want you guys to think about is your physiology. How are you moving? How are you presenting yourself? So if you want to present yourself as a strong, confident leader, what does that look like in your physiology? You know, if you're going into a meeting and you want to appear like a strong, confident leader, get yourself into that physiology first. You know, even things like if you're feeling stressed and you're feeling worried and you see it, you can see it, you can feel it in your body. You know, your shoulders might be a little bit hunched up. You can begin then to understand that if I change my physiology now, if I stand up, if I roll my shoulders back, if I take a deep breath and allow all the stress just to remove from my shoulders, then I start to feel better. You know, it's why people use sport when they're, you know, when they're feeling overwhelmed, when they're feeling depressed, because it changes your physiology so quickly. A mentor of mine used to get us to do bunny hops. So anytime we were kind of lethargic or not being able to focus, he'd be like, right, bunny hops, let's do some bunny hops. And it sounds really daft, and it was so embarrassing at the time because we'd be in the office and we'd all be kind of, you know, just overwhelmed with work, whatever. And we would do the bunny hops. You know, you would have a kind of burst of energy through your body, and it did help. So become a master of your own physiology. Begin to realize, you know, what anger feels like in your body. Begin to realize what stress feels like in your body, but also begin to realize what the opposite of those things are, the emotional states that you want more of. So if you want more happiness, what does that look like? You know, maybe you need to smile more. You know, even if one day you're feeling a little bit down, what would happen if you just began to smile? Because as soon as you begin to smile, what that does is it sends messages to your brain to release endorphins, to release those good feeling chemicals. And you can try it now, you know, smile away, start smiling, and then start thinking about something that really makes you happy. And you can begin to feel that change. So this is about becoming a master of your emotional state. So focus and physiology. One of the biggest things that I think we need to become a master of is our language. And it's not just our external language, but it's our internal language. Language actually shows you what's going on internally. So the words we use externally and internally have the power to create or have the power to destroy. They have the power to build people up or tear people down. You know, if you think about it, wars have been created not just by language, but by what people have said. So they carry tremendous power. And the language that we use, both inside our head and what comes outside of our mouth, speaks directly to our unconscious mind. So if we're consistently telling ourselves how great we are, you know, how resilient we are, how we're an overcomer, how all good things come to me, your mind begins to pick up on that. And especially if you have a habit of repeating great things over and over again, because one of the ways you get into your unconscious mind is through repetition. So the language that you speak is a window into what's happening inside. So what we speak and what we say to ourselves is an expression of what we think and feel. We're always communicating something. So what I want us to do is I want us to become aware over the next week. What is it that you're communicating? What is it that you're communicating to other people? And what is it that you're communicating to yourself? And there's lots of different levels to language that I'm not going to get into, but I want to keep it really, really simple. And this is going to be your exercise. One of your exercises that I'll send you this week. And it's to become aware of the internal and external language that you're using and become aware of the energy behind it. Okay. And what do I mean by energy? So some of the words that you use will have a heavy energy, will have a negative feeling to it. Some of the words that you use about yourself or to other people will be really upbuilding. Some of the words that you will use will be blowing things out of proportion. Some of the words that you use, you'll be like mind reading or assuming things about other people. So become aware of the energy behind your words and the type of words that you use on a consistent basis. And maybe to make it really, really straightforward, just become aware whether you're using negative words or positive words. Okay. So I'm just aware of time here, and so I just want to give you a quick example of what you could be becoming aware of here. So you could be saying things like, "Oh, I couldn't do that," or I wouldn't be able to make that," or "I'm not good enough," or "I don't have the qualifications," or "I really should have went round to see my granny tonight," or "I really should have sent that email." Should is a really powerful word, by the way. Or "I'm not strong enough," or "I'm not clever enough," or "I must do this," or "I have to do that." So become aware of the statements and become aware, are they positive? Are they negative? Are they upbuilding, or do they tear you down? What I'm going to do this week is I'm going to send you an exercise where you can capture some of that stuff. And what I want you to do is catch yourself when you're speaking negatively about yourself. Catch yourself when you're dramatizing something, and begin to learn the language that you use. So I want you to do the exercise, but I also want you to be able to use that lever. So if you are in a negative emotional state and you want to be able to change that state, just stop, take a moment and think, what am I focusing on right now? Am I focusing on the positive, or am I focusing on the negative? What's my physiology right now? Is it a physiology of excellence, or am I trapped in this physiology of whatever negative emotion that you're in? What's the language that I'm using right now that's creating this emotion within me? And what do I need to change about my language and change about my physiology that's going to get me in a better emotional state? So the more that you learn to use these levers, the more that you learn, particularly about physiology and language, and the more that you are in control. And this goes all the way back to being able to take full responsibility for what you're creating in life and how you feel in life, and take full responsibility for being able to respond rather than react. So this is a very practical tool. Focus, language, and physiology. They're your three levers of emotional fitness. Go about your week, notice when you're not feeling great, and use these three levers and begin to get yourself into a more positive emotional state. Hope that was helpful tonight, and I will see you in the next workshop. Don't put your videos back on for a brief second. Gosh, I'm 1 minute over here by what I promised there, sorry. Again, guys, that was really rushed through, but I think you get the basics of it. It's simple, it's straightforward. The stuff around language, you could do a whole session on that on itself. There's so much when it comes to the language, but I want us just to keep it simple. Negative, positive, are you catastrophizing? Are you mind reading? What is it that the traps that you consistently fall into? And this lever thing has been one of the things that have really helped me, probably particularly like since Anita died, is just noticing when to actually sit in emotion and noticing when I need to change it. So sometimes you need to sit and feel what you need to feel, right? And other times you need to be able to change it. You can't, I can't come on to a call like this the way I was an hour before it. I had to do something to change my emotional state. Otherwise I'd be coming on like really upset, So that's where it comes into its own. Do you know what I mean? When you have to change your state, when you have to be in a better place. It's not usually something I would encourage to do consistently, because what it does is it parks your emotion rather than getting to the root cause of things. Do you know what I mean? So this is like, if you think back to one of the first conversations we had, and we were talking about your inner world and your outer world and your spiritual world. They're the three worlds that as men, I believe, we need to be kings of and masters of. This is related to your outer world. This is a tool so you can just snap out of your negative emotion and step into something more empowering. So use it, play with it, see how you get on. I'll send you an exercise that you can do or not, whatever you feel like. But like any of the other things, the more that you do the exercises, the better. The better it helps. Any questions about that? It's pretty straightforward, or happy enough?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Brilliant. Great. Dead on. So I will see you. I'll see you next week. Next week will be the last week. Have again, just have a think about, you know, what you want to do after this. I'll give you there's a few other things that you might want to do that I'll talk about next week, but the main things right now are continuing on doing some sort of small group development, stuff like this. And then the other one is if anybody wants some one-to-one time to work through any key issues, that's an option too. And there's a third one that I'll explain next week. But all good in the hood. Listen, I'll let you get on.
Right.
And cheers, appreciate it.
Cheers.
Thanks, lads.
If you
See ya.
Cheers later.
anything, just give me a shout during the week.
Thanks, Fitty.
Cheers,
bro.
Finn.
Adios.
Thanks, lads. Bye.